Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, wherever or whenever you're watching this. Today, we are actually looking at March 7th, 2023, and we are on the law of the straight line, the ninth law of this 10-week series. And what this we've been going through is how the laws intertwine. So I've been kind of outlining the laws, trying to get people to look at the laws um, a little bit more in depth, but also seeing how the laws actually work together. And when you can do that, it creates what I like to call a filter or a dream catcher. Um, that way we can put in front of us and go through life. But obviously, we're only doing the first 10 laws. And as someone texted me earlier, they're like, hey, could you do 20? I was like, no, I'm not doing 20. I will do 10. One, it's because I truly believe in teaching someone how to fish and not giving them a fish, because you have to take your own journey. I took my own journey in this, and I believe that we all have to do that individually. But to anyone that's watching this, if you have any questions, concerns, or heartburns about this, please reach out, and I will try to do my best to make myself available to answer the questions. But again, I am not a part of the Bellwether Central. I'm just a maven within the Bellwether who's trying to provide a little bit of education on and perspectives. But as we've gone through, we did the law of the architect, which is law one, law of exchange, law of open cycles, the principle of present, law of separation, law of hindrance, the principle of perseverance, which is one of my personal favorites, law of the caterpillar last week, and then this week is the law of the straight line. Now, for those that are on this call, and if you listen to the law of straight line, it references basically four ways of money phasing, or ways to make money. I don't want to call it money phasing because that's another law. But within this directly now ties back into law one. And as I've said in these recordings, law one is the anchor point, where we come back to, where we always can come back to find stable ground, our foundation, our footing. And that's our story of what we're going after. Whether you're me and you're someone like myself, and I'm just looking to connect people that have problems with people that have solutions. I might have that solution, I will do it, but because I like interacting with people, this is a good way for me to be a valued asset to both parties. It also gives me an opportunity to learn. And as our viceroy has once told me, I'm an expert of many things, but not an expert in many things. So I think that kind of goes to the jack of all trades and a master of none, but a master of many is better than a master of one. So I think that's how that goes. I didn't pull that up, kind of impromptu. But anyways, as we look at the law of the straight line, it references four different things. But the first one is how we take our active hours, and we all know we have the same active hours every single week. No one's got more hours than someone else, so we're all given the same amount of time. And people say, well, it's unfair. This isn't fair. The more time you're saying it's not fair, the more time you're wasting. But if you can say, hey, how am I spending my active hours to make money for me? And as going back to the law of the architect, you have to be very, very proficient at that and be willing to put forth in the time and effort to build your business. You can't expect someone just to give you a business and say, oh, here you go, here's your business, you take it and run with it. You've got, a customer base, and you can grow at 10% year over year. That doesn't happen. We have to put in the time and the effort to, really find our stride. And this is how we put in our active hours to really promote and learn the business and learn our passions. But in that, we're limited on that. So how many hours can we work physically? There's 168 hours in a week, and that's a lot of hours, but I can only work inherently and be really, really proficient if I'm pushed about 60 to 65 hours. But that leaves a lot of other hours, but I still have to spend time with my kids, which is principal perseverance. It's not what drives me, but I do want to provide better for my kids. I want to provide them a platform. I want to play golf because I've said that's one of my passions. I want to smoke cigars and I want to drink whiskey. Those are my passions. Those are the rewards I get for being the architect. But I have to be able to put those in those things. So if I say, let's just go 60 hours, if I can only work 60 hours, how can I maximize the other hours that are wasted? So that's how we then go right into the law of exchange. We have to be crystal clear on our messaging and our vision to get people to buy in. If we're not crystal clear on that and we can't convey our vision to someone to get them to say, yes, I believe in the same thing and I want to be a part of this. Again, they're still, they have a W-2 job. They like, well, I don't have 40 hours to give, but I might have 5 or 10 hours I can help you. But those 5 or 10 hours is working with other people. So that's having a fair exchange with someone. But again, that's creating what they referenced here in the law of the straight line is working with other people and having people work for you. The third is, money working for you because money never sleeps. The stock market is open across the world at any given time. The New York Stock Exchange may shut down for a period of time, but money is always growing interest. But our investments are always growing interest if they're in the right place. There are things that do lose money if you invest in them, but I'm not a financial advisor, nor will I plan to be. I do encourage someone to, if you don't have one, get one, because it's always good to have. But that right there is an open cycle. I just closed an open cycle for you. So if you've got money that you can invest, I think there are 2 ways to invest. You can invest in people or you can invest in assets. And if you're investing in people, they're sometimes a little bit higher risk because if it's a new relationship, if it's a long-term relationship, there's still a high risk because as we started this call, 9 weeks ago, I had a lot of people that said, we can be here. We're going to be a part of this. And just life happens. And, people have been able to watch the recordings, but not everyone's here. But they've been able to go back and watch the recordings. Is that a fault? No, but it's something that we have to be cognizant of as we run a business. And this is a prime example. So if you're asking for someone to give you 5 or 10 hours and they can't show up because life happens, how do you convey those things or how do you overcome those obstacles? So those are things that we look at, but money doesn't have those obstacles unless it's just tied into stocks, and then it could go down, but inherently it always goes up. So these are the law of straight line, how it really ties into the law of the architect and the law of exchange very, very succinctly. But also the law of separation is a lot of people, they have fear, or law of hindrance. They have fears about doing something and be able to give over control. But if I said to either of you on the call today that I can give you 10 employees right now, each of you will get 10 employees and they're going to give you 10 hours a week. So that's 100 hours. So you've just increased your operating hours by 100 hours. What would you do with that? It's a hard question, because as the architect and as we alluded to last week, building an SOP is not a way to hinder someone or put them underneath your management, but it's a way to have measurables. You can say, all right, well, I've got 10 people. I want to have these 2 people focus on this, these 3 people focus on this, and these 3 people focus on this. Oh, wait, when we still have 2 more people, so we can have these 2 people focus on this. So, in real estate, we can say, all right, we're going to do 2 people focusing on people that are moving into the area and doing a relocation program. We're going to try to become the relocation experts. That's all these 2 people do. So 10 hours a week, you got 2 people doing it. So you got 20 hours a week solely focused on building relationships with relocation services and knowing where the opportunities are, knowing what those, because in a relocation service, um, people have budgetaries because the company's paying for it, square footage, all these different things. And if a company's going green, they even put that on their employees' housing, saying, hey, it has to be Energy Star, have to have so many appliances and different things. I know that's one of the things here in the US. I'm not sure if it applies there in British Columbia. But then you say, hey, all right, well, we need to find 3 people that are going to be really, really proficient at making sure that we really know every single loan officer so we can get stuff closed within, because the average is 45 to 60 days. We want to close everything within 30 days. So when we get a loan that's pre-approved and all these things, how can we get this? So we got 30 hours a week. So now you can see you're creating measurables, and that's building that team. That's in that exchange. And then you've got 3 more people with 30 hours, and you've got $1,000 a month that you want to invest. So now you've got 30 people or 30 hours a week, and you're like trying to figure out how to invest it. Let's say $1,000 a month. Again, $1,000 a month is not a lot, but if it's compounding, it can become very, very large very, very quickly. Because some people say, would you rather have a penny a day that doubles every day, or would you rather have $1 million for 30 days? And if you haven't heard that story, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's somewhere around $3 to $5 million in that, if you double a penny every single day for 30 days. But, you got to think about that. And that right there is that third phase. That's that money working for you. So you've always got to be looking at those things. To give a little story personally, I just did my taxes. I own 2 businesses. I had one business that showed a profit, one business that showed a loss. But in my taxes, again, me creating a fair exchange and making sure that I have someone working for me, which is my CPA, closing a cycle, they were able to find me, a substantial return where I thought I was going to be right about break even. As of last week, I thought I was going to be break even, but they spent another week on it and they found me a substantial return. Everything's above board, but having someone that can spend time on that. Now, they only spent maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours over that week doing that work, but that's the expert in that. So you've got to make sure that you're leaning on the people that you're creating this. So if you bring people into your organization, make sure you're playing to their strengths. Make sure you're giving them the ability to thrive in an area. If you've got someone that's creative, you might want to look at putting them in an opportunity where they can be creative, not sitting behind a computer just doing Excel spreadsheets. That may not be the creative outlet for them. And this may not predicate into the law of perseverance, but if you can help feed someone's passion while they're working, God, just think of how much happier they're going to be to show up. And you got someone that says, I'll give you 10 hours a week, but they are enjoying what they're doing. Now they're giving you 12 hours, 15 hours. That's amazing. But you have to understand all these laws in their holistic approach for it to make sense and how you can apply this to your business. Now, every business is different. And if you've heard Dan talk, hopefully y'all were all on the call last night. I wasn't taking roll on the call. But Dan talks about these things and be able to get the best out of people. I'm the very best at what I do. I can find someone that does, maybe 60% of what I do, but they can't be 100% me. And that's fine. But if I can duplicate that, 5 or 10 times, just imagine how fast you can scale. And then make sure that you're always scaling in a way that you're able to pull money out to invest and grow that, because there's always going to be a rainy day, and and most people don't plan for a rainy day fund. But if you can pull money aside and say, all right, well, these are, so what happens if someone goes on maternity leave or someone has an ill parent that they need to leave and take a short-term leave to go take care of them. That puts a hindrance on your business. But wouldn't it be nice to have, funds that you can say, all right, well, you go take care of that, and we're going to bring someone in just to fill that gap, or I can step in and fill that gap. That way, the wheels of progress keep turning, and that you can keep moving forward. Because unfortunately, all the things that come at us in life that want to slow us down, life's not slowing down for us. We have to figure out how to keep pace with life. And I think this right here, when looking at it, it's critical. And before I pause here, one of the things that and I encourage you haven't got a chance to read this or hear it more, I would encourage you to really look at the last part of this law. It talks about how you can take so much in learning from other people. And they talk about how the top 5% of the elite class spend 5% of their time focusing on the money that they can earn for themselves through direct efforts. So how I work right now, I still have not reached this phase because I still worry about, putting in hours. But 5% of the time that I should put in should only be focused on my direct efforts, my hard work put in. 35% of that should be focused on the money that other people are making for them. And 60% is the straight line of money compounding for you, that you're investing in the right vehicles. And it doesn't have to be one, it could be multiples, but you have to have resources around you. It could be you're investing in a small business, it could be a startup, those in the alliance. There are many opportunities, but you got to make sure it's right for you. You got to make sure the paperwork's done. You can't, money's a great motivator for good and when it's leveraged properly, but it can also bring out the worst in people. So you got to make sure you're documenting stuff. But if imagine making 60% of your income. So let's just say $1 million a year. Let's say $600,000 a year is solely based on money working for you. 35% of that, so $350,000 a year, is just based on other people working for you. So you're making $350,000 off other people working for you. Imagine what that's making for them if you put that in the right way. Because I would think that Richard Branson probably makes, probably $3 a person per day in working. Maybe, I don't know. It could be more, it could be less. We're just throwing a number out there. But you got to think of the number of employees that man has with Virgin Record, Virgin Atlantic, and all the other stuff. And then, just imagine making $50,000 by your direct efforts. Now everyone, I say $1 million because it's a round number, it's an easy number to play with. But if you make $50,000 a year, that's just play money. That's it. I want to go to really nice dinners every night. I want to go and play the best golf courses. I want to drink the best scotches. I want to, smoke the best cigars. I'm doing this for me. So you can fill in the blanks and put in whatever that might be for you. But think about that. And that's where we have to work to. But that's a goal. I have goals this year in getting my business more from that, where I say I'm spending about 25-30% of my time to shave off maybe 5%. No, that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it could be a lot for me. It could be a lot for you, but you have to think about these things. And you have to always go back to, again, what am I the architect of? Where am I putting my direct efforts? And then two, because you got to have that team. You got to start with one, and then you go to 2, and then you get to 10, 100, whatever it may be. You got to do that. There's a real estate agent here. I guess he's all over the country. His name's Mark Spain. Never met the man, but I see his billboards all over the place here in the United States. And I remember when he first started doing the billboards, he had longer hair, more blonde. Now his hair is darker, better hairline. Amazing what money does. But he can't be in all the real estate offices across the country. But he's making probably half of 1% of every deal made on all these real estate agents. But in the state of Georgia alone, I did look it up. He has 24,000 agents on his team in the state of Georgia. In the state of Georgia, I think there's, at I last looked, there's 106,000 agents in the state of Georgia. So he has almost 25% of the real estate agents working for him. Now imagine having people work for you and what that can do. So what he's doing, he's got other people making money for him, and he's investing in other things and growing his business, and doing different things. He might have a mortgage firm now. He might have a private lending because he says, "Hey, we guarantee if your house doesn't sell within 30 days, we'll buy it." So you got to have capital for that. So he might have a nice portfolio of rental properties that he's leasing out. So, and those create tax revenues, and that's an investment. So you've got to think about your business. And I say all these things just because I do have a real estate license, for fun, and that, but also know that someone else on this call has a real estate license. So I'm throwing ideas out there, but it's also something where I think everyone within the alliance knows a real estate agent, and they can pull good business sense of seeing how marketing is done, how communication is done, and how working with others can get something done to benefit someone else. So anyway, so that was a long tirade of me rambling and rambling. So I'd like, as always, I'd like to open this up and get some insights of what you're thinking, how this law of straight line has impacted you, or what you're thinking. But go ahead.
Well, for me, everything is shifting with my mindset as we've been going through all these calls. I'm currently building a team, like I mentioned before, and this one was interesting because it makes me want to plan out, to change my perspective on my plans over the next year, 5 years, and so on, and to shift, the time that I invest into it from the 100% to maybe 65% to 40% and so on, and kind of use that as a timeline and like a bullseye to go for.
Mhm.
And so as I build it, keeping that in the back of my head, it actually changes a few ways to structure along the way. So it's thanks for making me, I'm gonna have to go and sit back and redo all this now. But this is good. These are great exercises, and I love that for this. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at right now with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to, well, I
I'm
always
not going to
encourage you
redo the whole thing. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
it just
But
changes it a little bit.
but you can say that, this year your goal is to go from 100% to 80%. That's a goal.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what steps do you take to get there? If you only get to 85%, is that a failure or is that a win? You're still moving forward. So, that's, I always look at as a win. But what can you learn from, why did I miss that 5%? But if you put those measurables, it allows you to grow and say, all right, well, next year I want to get to 50%. So I've increased my goal, but but have learned what I missed on this one. I can apply it and maybe accelerate in certain things. And those are always things and metrics that we have to look at. And I can, where I alluded to, that 25, 30% wanting to shave off 5%, is I'm in year 4 of my business. How do I, by year 5, how can I get to, that 10% mark? And then, allow my money investments to work for me.
I'm
So,
also looking at the inspiring people to come on board. So
mhm,
having the right people around you will obviously help with that. But it's
mhm,
just stepping back and creating a vision that people will also buy into. And
yeah,
yeah, it's just it's bigger, and I like
yeah,
it because I never really went in that direction. I build business for business itself, to make
mhm,
the income, and then to take the income and continue on. But this is looking at it from a different perspective, and I
Yeah.
like it better because there's strength in it and more of a foundation, which I
Yeah.
like.
Well, one of the things that you can look at is how you're utilizing your time. So people that are coming into the business is, if you've got 5 years, 10 years, whatever that may be, you have experience. You know how to point out the potholes and say, avoid this and make their life easier. So now you become more of a mentor and a trainer to inspire that team and then that's where you pick your one or five. Hey, guess what? Am I doing that here where we started with a group of six? Am I doing that here, inspiring people to go, and I'm not asking you to come work for me, but am I inspiring you and giving you the tools and a way to look through the journey of life and how to be better at it? Yes. But I had to go through that same journey. I can only teach what I know, and I can learn from even what I'm teaching, but I had to, be willing to learn it. And I think that is where you can really find the gems and you can really find successes that you weren't planning on finding. So, Miss Catherine.
So I think for me, it's I'm in the learning phase definitely still, because I've been very, I suppose I should say, comfortable in the little niche I was in. Because I'm very fortunate in that I love what I do. It's quite long hours, but because I really enjoy what I do and I'm working for somebody else, and being and learning all of these laws about how to actually take care of myself a little bit more in this and create something just for me is, firstly, it's quite scary in one way because it's comfortable where I am and I
Mm-hmm.
like where I am, but it's not enough in that way. And so learning even things like this about, how I can look at then taking where I am and still doing that. Because at the start, I thought it was like, oh my goodness, I have to leave. I have to start and completely do something different, create something just my own. And it's not like that now. It's
Mm-hmm.
being able to still keep that, but be better and more streamlined and more efficient. And I'm doing this because it's containing it into a certain number of hours here, so that then I can now create more of something for myself. And I really
Mm-hmm.
like this idea of expanding my consciousness in the way that now I'm actually thinking bigger. I'm thinking, and my energy is becoming more now, okay, I can create this, and now there's other ways that I can have it make it for me. So it's not just me. And now I can
Mm-hmm.
then look at investing, for example. It's not really something that I've ever really done. Um, but looking at making things work for me and getting some more passive income and things like that happening as well. So that's kind of, I'm still in the early learning phases. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
the baby steps of a lot of all of this, but I really like that it's expanding me in the way to think it's possible, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. And I like this, how this law is actually quite practical as well. It's
Yeah.
like, here's the rules. Here's some things that you
Mm-hmm.
can actually do. Um, because in previously it has been very much active hours, and like
Mm-hmm.
you're right, so many, you can only do so many hours, and you can only fill it and get the return, and then it's kind of capped, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's very limiting if you're looking at just that. And um and so even for myself, I'm starting, a program where I'm stepping out a little bit more into my own space in terms of communications, and a self-defense program for females myself, which is quite scary, and because I haven't done it before, so it's kind of like that springboard to go back to the comfort is really easy because it's known.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, but then that's something that it will be creating for me, and then that's something that we'll be then continuing and creating, and then the mind is now bigger, get people on board with it and get it a little bit more, international and global, and so it kind of is very cool, being around so many people that are like-minded in that way.
Mhm.
It just opens up the whole world of possibilities. And then learning the laws like this, you kind of go, oh, there is actually a process. It's not
Yeah.
just, that just throw it out there and it'll, I want it, so it'll come. It's like, here's some laws, here's
Yeah.
some principles, here's some practical steps to make sure it happens. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very much enjoying the process.
I think there is something that can be said about manifesting your success, but you can only manifest what you're capable of. And because even in this law, they talk about, hello, winning the lottery, or having a rich uncle or something, someone pass away, and giving you those things. So you've got to, I'd like to manifest, $100 million, but unless I win the lottery or have a rich uncle that passed away that I'm not aware of, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some time. But I can manifest meeting people like me that have the same mindset as me, that have the same passions as me, that have the same drive as me. I can manifest that. But I can manifest that because of the principle of present and the principle of perseverance. Because if I'm in what I like to call my happy spot, out on a golf course, socializing, just communicating, just tearing down all barriers, because anytime someone goes into an office, you kind of get a little uptight because you're like, all right, well, I'm in their place of work, or they're in my place of work. I have to put on a persona. But if you're at a restaurant, if you're on a golf course, whatever it may be, those walls are torn down. There's a persona that's not there, and you can meet people where they're at, and you can truly start meeting people and finding out what their passions are, what they're, and be present with them, and maybe engage with them. And it's funny, I was talking with someone yesterday who's wanting to, just launch a new business, wanting to join my company, ProSense. And then I also say, hey, I have a W-2 job. I'm very proud to have a W-2 job. You know why? It's OPM, other people's money. And in this particular role, I get to meet other people that may want to join my business, relationships that I can cultivate here that may parlay over there. But because I do work for a very large company that's global, like when I applied, they asked for my EIN numbers, my sales tax IDs for all my businesses. So I had to disclose all that. Now that was done at a corporate level. How far that transpires down to people, it's like a CRM. Some people don't read the reports. They're just like, okay, well. But I found in my business, what I'm trying to do is I tried stepping away and doing some other stuff, and I was good at it, but I wasn't as good as I could be. It's not because I wasn't putting forth the time. It's just because of the people I was communicating with and the expectation that I had levied upon me. But since taking this this W-2 role, like I've alluded to in the past, I was working 45, 50 hours a week, and then I realized for every one of my accounts, I have an inside person. I also have an accounts receivable, accounts payable person, or a credit person. I also have a projects team for lighting. I also have a project team for other stuff, for more complex projects, for every single one of my accounts. So what is my title? What am I supposed to do in this role? I'm supposed to facilitate relationships and be the voice of the company. So now I keep scaling back my hours, how hard I work, because I've been able to pass off. Not that I'm say, hey, I'm bigger, I'm better than everyone else. You do it. It's no, I'm utilizing the team around me that was put for me by this company. And I just, while you were talking, I was doing the calculation because we announced earlier in February that our company did $18 billion last year, and I took our number of employees globally and I multiplied that by because there are some people that make less than six figures, and there are some people that make more. But I multiplied it by $150,000, which might be a pretty good salary. But I multiplied that out, and the number of employees. There's still $14 billion in profit. When we pay all the employees, there's $14 billion in profit. Now, it's a publicly traded company, so that's great for the shareholders. But, that's not the employees, because we have buildings, we have assets, but all those things are valued. Like if you haven't read the story or I would encourage you to go look at it. And when Kmart filed bankruptcy, Sears bought it, but they bought the assets. And I think it was like $250 million, $300 million is what they paid for all the assets when they filed bankruptcy. But when they went through and did the inventory of all the real estate that they owned, all the shelves that they owned, all the trucks that they had, all the forklifts they had $1.8 billion in assets. So you got to think about your business more than just you and the hours you put in. And this is where we start looking at the investments. What are the investments that we can make in our business? Whether it be, Facebook Marketplace, Google WordSpin, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, SEO work. How can we get our message out there to our customers and our right customers? But, as the architect, we got to know who those people are. And like you're talking about, Catherine, is like, you love what you do and you work, more hours, long hours, but you don't feel like you're working long hours. But I guarantee that there's probably 5 or 6 people that would love to be in your spot, would love to have that opportunity to, learn from someone that's been in that position. And it's hard to, put ourselves on a pedestal like that, say, hey, someone wants this position, but it is true. But if you can humble yourself, say, all right, well, who would like to, come be an understudy, and you may not have that opportunity to, create an understudy as a W-2 employee, but, how can I give someone a taste of this to shed the load off of me? And now you're creating these laws in small micro levels, and it creates this, you can, just start building upon it, but you got to take that first step. But, me working here, I'm able to, free up my time to, work on my business. And I still, like I said, 25, 30% of my time. But that's not a lot of my time. But now, as, giving a little preview into next week, the law of the rabbits, because I'm at a point where I clearly understand my vision. I clearly understand the people I'm wanting to connect with. I clearly understand the people I'm trying to elevate with me. But am I putting myself in the right opportunities, the right vehicle to do these things? And some people saying having 2 jobs or 3 jobs is bad. No, it can be, absolutely. If you're doing accounting over here, marketing over here, and warehouse work here, 3 completely different jobs. But, if I'm looking to support the trade industry, build a community, create an organization that works within that space where I work, I meet these people every single day. So all I'm doing is expanding my network. And my business, the last couple of weeks, we've been, saying in all of our social media posts is our network is equal to our net worth. And I think that's very, very true. I think even on these calls here, we may never work together because we're all looking to achieve certain things. But by spending time with people that can change your perspective and give you a better outlook on how to maybe just tweak something, just ever so slightly make you a little bit better, that tweak could make you hundreds of millions of dollars, hypothetically. It may not make someone else hundreds of millions of dollars because they're not in the right vehicle. And that's why exploring the opportunities, being present and being for every conversation. And then for those people that don't have the drive or the passion or the work ethic to, see those things through like you do, they might be great people, but it might be, spend less time with them and try to find some people that work as hard as you, that are always looking at the next thing, always trying to find stuff, but making sure the next thing has measurables into it. Not always like, oh, pie in the sky, pie in the sky, pie in the sky, and not having measurables, because that doesn't get you anywhere. But you say, all right, I want to shoot for Mars, but I got to get to the moon first. And understanding that, and finding those people and spending time with those people, it's going to elevate your net worth because of your network. And I think that's a good place to be. And I think that's one of the things that the Alliance has done for me. As we say, we're not a religious group, we're not a political group, we're not a mastermind, but it's how these laws, and again, the illustration I use is a dream catcher. And it's a filter of life. As we learn these laws, we're only going to the first 10. So imagine a circle, and there's 52 laws, 52 different strands, or 51 different strands coming across. There's a lot of space where things are going to get caught, but there's also a lot of space where air can pass through, and that's where that dead weight just needs to fall through. You might say, reach back every now and then, because you're a good person, and say, and because where you met them at that point may not have been ideal for them. Maybe they're on their own journey, but you can't drag someone along with you, because you have to, because life again is not going to slow down for you. And you got to make sure that you're able to put yourself with people that can push you forward and help motivate you. And also make sure that you're tying into your passions. Again, going back to law of straight line, principle of perseverance, is, because when obstacles come about as you're pursuing your passion as the architect, how can you overcome these obstacles, and making sure that you have the right team in place because you created a fair exchange to move forward. And then those are the things that we have to look at. But
yeah, it's
anything
funny.
else?
All this, like you were saying earlier, that the energy shifts when you go through all of these, and the people that start to come into your world change. And
Mhm.
it's interesting to watch, because I'm just kind of being more ultra aware of my surroundings and the people that I'm connecting with now, and I'm starting to see opportunities come in that I wouldn't have seen before. And it's fascinating. So it gives you a lot of motivation to keep on that path, and to keep coming to these calls, and to just learn more and progress. It's very cool. It's just really neat.
Yeah. And here's an interesting tidbit about me is, when I joined the Alliance, the first 6 people I got connected to were coaches, life coaches or business coaches. Those are not the people I was looking to meet. That's not what I put on my wealth plan of people I wanted to meet. Like, I was looking to meet industrial business owners, commercial real estate property owners, people doing building stuff, because I always referred to myself as a lighting guy or energy guy. But I look at those conversations and the relationships I built with someone like a Mary Lynn Zimmer, a Mitch Russo, a Jason Duncan, people that do coaching now and that were coaches then. And the perspective it gave me. And I've still never hired any of them as a coach, because I think there has to be alignment with those things. But with that being said, because I was present, because I was like, oh my God, the Alliance is referring these people to me. And obviously they have some net worth, because I feel humbled just being invited. I'm going to spend time and learn. And it's amazing what that did for me. But Jason Duncan's the gentleman that brought me into the Alliance, and he just wrote a book, came out last week, Exit Without Exiting. If you haven't seen it on anything, I suggest you pick it up. My copy came in the mail Saturday, and it's pretty good. And he refers to some of the laws, not in a direct manner, but if you know the laws, you're like, oh, I know that law. And I even referred to it, I think last week, it's, making yourself as a non-essential employee of your business. And if you're the elite class that only spends 5% of themselves in a direct effort to make money, that leaves 95% of the time to do what you want to do. But you cannot build a business where you're shackled to. So you got to have trust with people. That's working with other people. But he says, he said it on LinkedIn. I've heard him say it before. But one of the things that he wished he wanted done as very, very early in his entrepreneurial journey was to hire a business coach. And I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and spend money to hire a business coach unless that's the right thing for you. But when you get these perspectives, and I think that's what these laws are. These laws could be your business coach, but you have to be willing to put forth the time to learn them and apply them. Dan gave the analogy last year while we were down in Mobile. He's like, you can know when the bus is coming. All right, that's something you know. But if you're standing in the middle of the road and not moving out, what happens when the bus comes? You get run over. So you knew the bus was coming, but you did not apply that knowledge. So what you didn't learn anything. So these are the things. And I think everything with these laws, and I love how, my first 40 laws were recorded in that very monotone, computer AI. And now they've gone back and redone them. So my last 10 or 12 laws are, a little bit more boisterous, but these stories help provide perspectives, allows you to think about things. And that's all I'm trying to do. And I encourage you within the Alliance to find other people to talk about the laws with, even if you're not, if you have a business partner that's not a member of the Alliance, that's fine. Talk with them about the laws. Show them the credo. Show them the bylaws. And say, hey, I want the credo to be, kind of our mantra of how we do business. And then, here's the framework. Here's more of the details, and go through the laws. Because when you can start thinking about things the same way and seeing things the same way, even though you have different perspectives, you can still say, all right, there's a whiteboard in front of me where I'm sitting. All right, if I got 5 people in this room with me, we can all see the whiteboard. And some people may say, well, I'm focusing on training, or I'm focusing on marketing, or I'm focusing on dollars sold. People are focusing on different things, but it's still the same goal. It's still moving the business forward. But people have different perspectives of where they can bring forth the value, and that's good to know. I'm going to end this with another highlight of another coin carrier, Corinne, out of California. She goes in and she does an audit of businesses, and she sits down with people, make sure that when she's talking with these people, that the people are in the right seats. You got someone doing your bookkeeping, and they really have more of a thing for marketing. I think picking those two seem to be pretty standard for me. Maybe it's good to change those people up so they can feel better valued, but that way you're also getting the most out of them. And that's what we have to do with everything. But you got to have that vision and lay it out. And then you also got to, again, create that law of exchange. But you also got to know within that vision where your open cycles lie, because you got to pay your bills. you got to get your bills, people to pay you. So you got to, market people. You got to do these different things. So every one of these things is a different cycle. So how do you fill these cycles to shut it down? But anyways, this was a lot of fun. Thank you. So like I said before, I think I hit record, I was tired, but this gave me some energy. So, and next week is our last week, Law of the Rabbits of this 10-week series. So hopefully you've gotten as much out of this as I have. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And hopefully the recordings do serve you well. And I will always be here. But anything else before I stop the recording?
Oh, this is great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And you're a natural at this, Matt. You're fantastic at taking us through all this. So thank you again for all your time, and this is great.
Yes. And you know,
All right.
I really love how you weave them. You've because before this it was kind of like this is separate, this is separate, this is separate. Like, you know, you learn this law, this, but the way that you kind of weave them all and it gets you looking at them very differently as well, that it's like a big story and you just, you know, they all assimilate in you know, in a really nice way. And that wasn't something that I had really thought of before
Yeah.
this
Well,
program. So it's really been eye-opening. Awesome.
yeah. Well, you know, my first 18 months in the Alliance, you know, I was super excited to get the laws. I was like, yes. So the first 25 laws, I listened to them. It's like, all right, I got the law of the architect. I listened to it 2 or 3 times. You know, I'm not a big reader. You know, even though I bought Jason's book and I've read, you know, first 2 chapters, I'm not a huge reader. But anyways, when I got the laws, I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to them. And then once I got the second one, I just listened to that. I siloed everything. I siloed every single one of the laws. And I'm like, because of how I do business, I think, you know, things are intertwined through so many things. So I'm like, well, are the laws in a, because I always heard the laws are given to us in a specific order, and we're all getting the laws in the same order. So I went back and I just listened to the first 5 laws again. I was like, holy crap, I can hear. And I went and did the, you know, and then I heard people talking about listening to the laws, you know, like as many as they had in a row. And I've even said in past recordings and things like that, I may have listened to the first 5 laws, but at that moment in time, I was not adhering to the law of open cycles, you know, the 12, 13-minute audio I didn't hear. But Principle of Present started playing. I was like, oh, it was just ringing bells all in my head. But the law of open cycles didn't. And that was just, you know, me being more in tune with what's going on in my own personal life, my own chapter of life. But knowing, all right, the Principle of Present, how does that tie to the law of the architect, law of exchange, law of open cycles? Now I can say, all right, I didn't hear this, but I heard this, and I can start weaving them in to really help build that foundation. And then, you know, we've all heard the analogy is a single twig can be broke, but a bundle is hard. It's, you know, 51 law you can break. You know, you don't want to break the law, but when you got 52 of them crammed in together, man, that really gives a really good foundation. That gives a, maybe, you know, we look at, you know, flipping that Dreamcatcher over, it almost could look like a trampoline where it's a springboard for life. Yeah, pretty good analogy. Ha, look at that.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good one. Yeah, very good one.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's just practice. It's repetition. You know, I will promise you, I was not this good, you know, for a while. But you know, this is something I do practice because I want to apply in my own business, and you know, I want the best for y'all. Again, we may never do business, and that's perfectly fine. But if I can, you know, refer you, think about you in a positive light, and talk about you in a positive light, hey, that's a great place to be. Because I always want to be front of mind, but I don't have to win every deal. So,
Absolutely.
anyways, well,
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Nice to